right, from management, stakeholder management, and different business cases. So we'll just be changing the theme, the sub theme, but the overall theme is GIS for smart transportation. We'll just be looking at different components and different deployment patterns. So that's just an intro for the webinar, and we'll purely be focusing on road scenarios or solutions for roads. So that's the background for this particular webinar. We'll run it till Q4, and we aim to do this collaboratively with our users. So the next one will focus on, users who are using smart transportation units or tools or methods to interact or deploy smart solutions across transportation, across the region. That means Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and anyone else who's joining us, Ethiopia, all those people within this region. Thank you. So I'll start with a brief intro of what our system looks like, the ArcGIS system architecture. And what you're looking at is a very simple architecture that just something I pulled up. And the main focus today of what I want us to look at is transport agencies and how we can incorporate a few other departments that we rarely think of into the standard architecture that runs the ArcGIS system. So the new thing here, I'm sure all of you have interacted, most of you have probably interacted with one or most of these components. And how our system looks like is we have the desktop component, we have the portal, the system, and then we have the mobile end of the system. And what fuels all this ideally are the different users who are within the organization. And what I want us to talk about today is customer complaints and how that falls into road agencies. And the idea behind this would be, I did a small survey where I went to a couple of road agencies across this region, so Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. And one thing that stood out is we are pretty good at doing the hardcore GIS stuff where we are managing our road networks. We are able to share this data, but when you look at the customer component of it, we are still on the hard copy method. So how do we move from from separating all these departments to having a seamless integration of all the departments, right, from the surveyors or any field personnel you have coming right into the system, the finance people coming right into the system, and that also incorporates customer complaints or the customer care department, which we rarely look at as a department that can leverage GIS as well to have a smart or a space-based response to the complaints you're getting from the public in terms of the status of the road, working street lights, missing street lights, or drainage blockages that are causing traffic holdups. How do we do that within the ArcGIS system? So that's the focus of today's session. And the numbers just demonstrate the different components of the system. So there's the database connection and analytics, which ideally takes place in the desktop interface. Then there's the field collection module, which ideally, again, can be done, which is number 2, survey designs. If you feel like your organization leverages survey tools, then this again is how they would incorporate it using survey 1 to 3. Then there's now number 3, which is other data streams, right? And customer care falls right at that heart of that data stream, simply because they receive data in different formats. I'm assuming one of it is probably a call would be done and then put it in an Excel sheet. Would be what I've seen with most agencies I've looked at across the region is a form that is on their website. So I basically go there and submit my complaint, and then it goes to customer care. So that's, again, is an example of data streams. Your data stream can come from any location, and the power of the system is the fact that it integrates all these data streams. And then number 4 is now the ROI. How do we analyze? How do we comprehend these data sets that are coming from all these departments to now for us to consume across the desktop, web, or the mobile devices? And of course, the benefit is factors like executive access, being able to engage with your communities or stakeholders. And the power of it, again, is what we've seen with COVID. You can work from anywhere. So that's what the standard system looks like. There's a second option, which is a base enterprise deployment or an enterprise system. The workflow is still the same, right? The only difference is the databases work and the fact that you're registering, let's say if you're working with SQL or if you're working with MySQL or Postgres, then there's a way you can actually do connections to the enterprise system. But basically some of the functionalities like the data streams, we still have departments like customer care, field personnel can still benefit from that. And all this is simply because of the portal interface, which is ArcGIS. ArcGIS Online. Today we look at ArcGIS Online, but the functionality is the same for enterprise system, simply because you want to leverage on web applications to have a very smart response to all our customer care customer complaints that come from our website. So we're going to create a form that will enable customers to report to that, and that ideally brings us up to the smart way of running systems or teams within transportation agencies. So that's the bit of a background. This will be shared. So what you're looking at is the motivation behind today's sessions is crowdsourcing, and how can we be able as transportation agencies incorporate all the feedback we're getting from the public into our systems or within our system. So these are just a couple of screenshots from an app we're going to use. And the beauty of the system is now we are enabling customer care responses to be space-based. So that if someone is reporting, you notice on the right side, we have road problems or road complaints, and someone has talked about a pothole, someone has talked about a damaged or a missing street sign, someone else has reported on water over a road, flooding. And then you notice there's a capability or a functionality to vote, right? So that if I want to complain about a missing sign or a missing traffic sign, then if it's the same sign that someone has already reported on the map or to the department, the only thing I need to do is vote for it, right? And say, yeah, this is a high priority issue within our neighborhood. I think we need to address it, and the road agency is able to manage that. I think we have someone has put something on the chat so my colleagues will be handling the questions, but I'll also be taking questions at the end of the session. Currently, it's a bit tricky to switch to the chat, but I'll look at it. Victor, you'll help me monitor that. Godfrey will also be able to respond to your questions, and Douglas. But we'll get back to it after my demo. Okay, so back to what I was talking about on being able to use communities or citizens as a very good source of us understanding what's happening on the ground as road agencies. And this can cut across any departments. It's just how updated are we about the status of our roads? How updated are we about communities wanting to know projects that we are doing? And just having an open government that enables citizens to take part in policy or citizens to participate in reporting what's happening in their neighborhoods. So that's the aim of this webinar. We want to close the citizen engagement feedback loop, and you want to do that through a smart transport system that enables customer care or customer responses to be space-based. So the idea behind this would be the capability of us as road agencies to engage citizens, being able to deliver transparency, and at the end of the day, enhance policy, simply because we are enabling all these people. GIS is enabling open government where leaders, citizens, and everyone else can participate in projects that are being funded across agencies. Okay, so that's the background. And for that, we have two applications we look at. So the ArcGIS system supports a lot of crowdsourcing applications. Today, we look at Crowdsource Reporter and Crowdsource Manager within the first series of the Smart Transportation webinar. And then hopefully we'll upscale that and get down to a point where we are looking at the desktop level and creating a really seamless transportation network. So this is what the application looks like. So for the two applications, from what the name suggests, Crowdsource Reporter is for citizens to report, while Crowdsource Manager is for us internally as road agencies to manage those reports. So that's the linkage between these two applications. They are web-based application, meaning they're powered by the portal. Remember, I'd showcased the interface, and the portal is what enables all this to take place. Remember, I said initially, or I think I've said this before in my webinars, that to me, the portal is the heart of the system, simply because it's what enables us to connect what's on our desktop to the web, but it's also what enables us to communicate with one another. It's also what enables us to have comprehensive analytics and being able to create custom applications. All that is powered by the portal, and this can be ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise. So when we talk about crowdsourcing applications, all those are within the heart of the system, which is within the portal. So if you're running on any of those, then that means you're able to access these two applications and much more within the system. So we'll look at these two and what they do. So the reporter, what it does is it enables the public to report issues around their community. It's mobile and desktop friendly. And the other thing it supports is social media logins. So remember, when you're going to report or you want to issue a complaint, you rarely want to use maybe an email, or you probably want an easier way because you've already maybe signed into Twitter or Facebook. So you just want to report using that same username. So it allows that. And why we are pushing for this is simply because of geolocation, right? We are moving towards smart systems where all departments can leverage on the ArcGIS system. And how we are doing that is by enabling the responses that come in are all geotagged or have a location component to it. So this means even when customer care is responding, we are sort of overlaying all these complaints within our road network. So you know why there's a complaint along Gong Road and not maybe along Uhuru Highway, right? So that's what we are pushing for, being able to have all these departments leverage on the road network and the different data streams that come in for us within different departments as road agencies. And the other thing is it supports picture attachments. Just if there's need for validation of a customer care to look at what the problem really is, then the public can also attach pictures to that within the interface. Okay, so this is what you're looking at. On the right side, the picture just demonstrates, that's a form I picked from one website, one road agency's website. So that's currently how they're picking their public complaints, and what we are switching that into is a smart citizen problem reporter for us to integrate that within the system. So that's what we'll look at today, and for that we'll work with ArcGIS Pro and ArcGIS Online to be able to manage that. So this is again a screenshot from the applications where we have two reports where they have a survey that is able to capture animal sighting. If there is any animal sighting, especially along any roads we know that are close to parks, then how do we have multi-agency collaboration just simply because of the system? Where if I see like this one, you can see it's someone called Shayla who put whose report was they've seen a lion crossing the road, right? And the location for that. So this ideally goes to the, for example, maybe a Kura database or a Kenya database or a Uganda roads database or Tanzania roads database. So simply when a customer care representative is able to see that, it's literally just calling the relevant agencies and giving the space-based response of where they saw that, and that results to all this collaboration that eventually results to better public engagement across the sphere or across road agencies and multi-agency collaboration. So I'll go to our demo, and then we'll come back to what the other bits of customization. For now, I want us to go to the desktop. We push it to the online, then we'll revert back to see how we can customize the application. Okay, so we're using ArcGIS Pro for that, for us to come up with a very comprehensive reporter for us. Currently, let me just showcase this slide. This is what I talked about. This is what currently road agencies are collecting, and maybe if we can add more details, but I noticed most of them just have this first name, they collect the second name, your email address, your phone number, and then the other thing is they ask you what you'd like to do, whether it's to issue a complaint or any other thing you might want to do. So that's a basic form that I've seen across most agencies on the transportation websites that you have. So we'll mimic that and just try to add a few more components to make it smarter and more powerful to engage the public. So we'll start with ArcGIS Pro. I'd already launched it. It's a desktop application. So for those who don't have it, then you probably, when you want to launch it, if you don't have it, then of course you can't, if you've not installed it, you can't use it. But for those who have it, just a recap is just searching on it within your system and then launching it. So it would ideally launch the ArcGIS Pro interface, but I'd already launched mine. So that's what the interface looks like. I'd already created a schema, but I'd want to just do a recap for those who've not worked with a desktop schema before. How do I drag this down? Okay. There. Okay, so we'll start with let me just showcase what I'd initially drafted, which is a blank table where we expect the complaints to come in. And ideally, the role that I'm now carrying would be the role of a GIS person, right? I'm the one configuring what customer care normally reports, because we are the ones, helping or supporting the capacity of all departments moving towards a more integrated system. So so this would be ideally a GIS analyst or the person who does desktop work. So you have here, sorry, did someone say something? Okay. So you notice on my schema, or the data of the structure of the table is I have the type of problem, the details of the problem, first name, last name, my phone number, my email, and my location area, where I can just type maybe I'm in Nairobi or whichever form. But remember, the application gets your specific location. So this might not even be necessary. So that's what it looks like. And you notice on the type of problem, we're enabling them to have a drop down. And you notice why this is important is because most of these complaints, especially if you want to engage the public, is to make it as simple as possible, simply because I'll report a street light is missing when I'm stuck in traffic. And you wouldn't want me to type all that because I'd already feel exhausted to type all that work. So it's just trying to think of all the issues we have, or some of the issues the public reports on based on trends you've probably received from the customer complaints form, and then just configuring that within the system. And there's also an option of other where they can type other problems they have and give the details. So I'll do a brief to show how this is done. So let me just come here. We'll go to the view, then catalog pen. So the other thing about ArcGIS Pro is it works with projects, and projects contain maps, toolboxes, databases, PDFs, styles, and all your server connections. So if you have a server you want to connect to, then you can also do that within the system. So for now, we'll go to the database and we want to create the blank form. Just a reminder that the blank form is where we are getting the complaints completed field. That's where we expect the public to complete or fill the data. So I'll come to the transportation database, which is where I want it to be hosted. I'll go to the new and then say feature class. I'll just call this a simple name like complaints. Then it's a point, simply because we just want the XY. We don't want a polygon or a line. Then I'll go to the next. So we said here we have the type of problem they're reporting on, maybe the name. And if you want to separate these to first name, second name, you can do that. Something else was there. Oh yeah, they had telephone number. And then this is definitely an integer. And then something else that was there was email. So you also want to get their email for follow-up as the customer care department. So maybe let's work with that. I'll go to next. We'll just pick a coordinate system. I'll just use WGS because I'm expected to be regional. Then I'll just share it for people in Tanzania, Uganda, and whoever else is within the session across the region to just fill it up. But for now, I'll use WGS 1984 because that would align to what we are all using. So that's world. Then I'll just click on finish. So now that you have the structure of your data, or the structure of what you want them to fill, which we call a schema. Oh, wow, okay. Let me just, why did that fail? Give me 1 minute. Is my editing active? Sorry, let me just discard all my edits. Let me do this again. New feature class, complaints. I'll just rush through this because I'd already explained most of this. Name, type of complaint, telephone. This is an integer. I'll go to next. I think there's something I haven't done. I think I have a file called that. Let me add one. Yeah, I had a file called complaint. Let me just add test. Then I'll finish. So that should be fine. So normally when you have two files within the database, just try and rename them. The reason I got an error is because I already have a feature class called complaints. So normally it would throw an error if you already have an existing file with that. Okay, so after we've done that, so I'll come here. This is our table, complaints test. I'll drag it to the map. Of course, it's blank, so we don't expect anything to draw onto the map. Then we'll now come to our contents. So we have our complaints here. So the next thing we want to do is we want to enable the choices, right? And the geodatabase supports that capability of us enabling them to listing for them the choices we want them to type in. So we'll have that. So how you do that within the system is you go to the data, and that's supported through a functionality called domains. So domains allow, it's like a way of controlling the legal values that go within a cell. So that if I've not, like, I'll give you a list, and if on that list you don't see the choices, it's like a select one option. Actually, that's the correct way to use it. It's a select one option. What's the type of problem you want to report? Is it flooding? Is it drainage? Is it a broken street light? So that's what the functionality is, and it only works for geodatabases. And that's why it's good practice to work with geodatabases as opposed to shapefiles. So we'll now come here. I'd already listed some of these problems, but I'll just redo them to just show how it works. So you notice I have here complaint types, and someone is able to say the streetlight not working or blocked drainage. But I'll just repeat that here to show that. And since it's a database functionality, it will show me any choices I've ever given for any other file. So I'll just call this type of complaint. So that's it. Then I'll type here, maybe code 1 is blocked drainage, especially for road agencies especially in urban areas. The other one is probably broken street light. So we'll just give them a few choices to save on time. Then the third one would probably be, let me just say missing pavement, even if that's like a luxury around here. And maybe 4 would be, okay, let's use those ones. Okay, I can say missing street light. Let me just put potholes. Okay, so we have that. So after I've given them the choices, I'll click on save. So those are the choices I want to have. And you can even add something like other for them to describe further, and then have another field for describe the problem. So it just depends on how you'd want that to work. So after we've done that, we'll close that. We've given them the choices. We've given the public options you want them to complete. And again, maybe what would make this interesting would be getting the customer care form. That would be interesting to see the problems they normally get through calls or the system they have, just looking at the problem and then just putting that into the system as a smart way of responding to them. And then the next thing is now linking the choices to the field. So we'll come to the field, and then we'll just put that for type on the domain, we are saying that we are giving them the complaint type. So that's how it knows that when I get to the type question, it gives me choices which I'd already typed, and we call them domains, which I'd initially explained. So that's done. You have the structure of your data. Now you're ready to push it to the web for now the customer care person to come in and start managing complaints in a smart way and overlay them with your road network. So that's done. So that means if I come here and open this table, which is blank, when you come to maybe type of problem, you notice that it's allowing me to pick one, right? If it's a blocked drainage, or if it's a missing pavement, or it's a pothole, then I'm able to do that. So we are done with that. So the next thing after that is now sharing it. And the reason why we have to share it again, and you share either to depending on whichever platform you're using. If you're signed into ArcGIS Online, then it allows you can share through that. If you're signed into Enterprise, you can do that. The functionality is literally the same. So you'll go to the share command and share your data set as a web map. And remember that since it's enabling the public, we want the public to submit these complaints. It has to be an editable file you're sharing. So that means on the configuration, you go with the editable. Editable means that we are enabling people to edit. And that's because you want the public to edit that data set. If we didn't want for them to edit, then that would be something else like exploratory or visualization. But we'll cover that within a different series of the webinar. So after you've done all that, the next thing is basically analyzing your data to the cloud or to the online interface. So I'd already done that, but I'll just, I think we'll now shift to the web, or I'll just click on share to leave it sharing. I'd already shared a similar layer. So we'll just go now to the online to configure the web application. Okay. I hope everyone can see my screen. So now this is the online interface. I'm signed into the content is where all your personal items go to, or anything you own within the system goes to. And then of course there are folders and different, you can organize them however way you'd want them to be organized. So the first thing we'll do is, let Let me just change something here. Good. So I'd already shared that file, which is the road report. So I'll just open it. I'd actually done a couple. There was even animal sightings because I'd created a questionnaire for where the questionnaire could allow them to cite different types of problems, the ones that are related to roads or the ones that would still kind of animals crossing is still, it's not really a road problem, but we'd want to know for us to notify the right agencies because it's within our mandate, right, to ensure there's movement or there's no traffic hold up for different reasons. So just for collaboration, I'd also done that. So then the next thing is now creating the application. And remember that the reason why you have to share it as a web map is because you want to create a web application. So remember the form we are creating is a web application. And you want to, why we are using that is to enable you to embed that within your website. So that when I go to fill out the complaints I have, I'm now using that smart form that's linked to our GIS database. So as soon as I submit the complaints, then it goes directly to our database. We are able to now analyze and understand all these problems that we have within the roads department, within our agency. So I'll come here on create, but create, then we'll go to configurable apps. That's where all these applications are, especially the crowdsourcing applications. Then what's interesting is we've organized them according to what you want to do. So do you want to collect data? Do you want to compare maps? So for now, we want to collect data because we are crowdsourcing data from the public. Then we'll say we are using crowdsource reporter. Then we'll say create a web application. So we'll just call this public complaints. So at this point, this is still the GIS person or the analyst doing it. I'll show you where the customer care representative comes in as the, and eventually you'd probably want to migrate them to other forms of users, but ideally, or what I'm doing would ideally be done by someone who uses the system, which ideally would be like a GIS person, and then we now hand it over to customer care to just test it out if it still works like the web form they've been using. And of course, I feel like this would be a more exciting way. So it would just be getting their feedback on whether this works and how they like managing the reports from the data from the GIS database as opposed to a singular Excel sheet that is not integrated within the GIS system. So as that is loading, let me show you what it looks like. So that's the road problems. Notice we have details of the problem, first name, second name, and all that. I'd filled in a few dummy values, 6 of them. So this is what we are using, simply because we're trying to save time from what I'd shared. But now that we have this, the next thing now is linking this to the application. And maybe just to point out that Crowdsource Reporter and Crowdsource Manager work with groups. For those who know ArcGIS Online or who've used it or who've not used it, groups is a way of us managing content within the portal. And what now happens is it's a way of, it's almost, you can look at it as departments, right? If a group is in line with your theme or what you're doing, then you use groups to separate that. So you can have a group for water utilities, you can have a group for roads. So now I'll just create a group called customer complaints so that we add customer department there. We can just call it customer care. And that's how, if it's not within customer care, then you have no, you don't really need to see what they're doing. So I'll just call it customer care. Summary, just customer service, and these are our complaints within the unit, something like that. I'll make it public for now. Then I'll say create this group. So that's it. So now what happens is after you've created the group, now you have the departments. So now you need to share the maps you've done for them as the analyst to that group. So I'll come and share, and I'll make sure I've selected the customer care department here. So it already appears here. It's a quite responsive system. So customer care, then I'll say done. So that's it. So the next thing I need to do is now come to our application, which has just launched. And remember, these are the sign-ins. So if I'm the public, I can decide to proceed anonymously, or I can sign in with Twitter or any social media page. So we'll start from here. It's quite intuitive. It's like a wizard. You have general, theme, options, access, search, and finally forms and reports. So we'll start from the very first bit, the general bit. What's the name of your application? I'll call this complaints form, something like that. Or complaints, let me give it a complaints reporter up. Subtitle, let me just, I'm not as creative as some of you, so I'll just say talk to us as the subtitle. Then that's done. Then we'll go to the theme. The theme, this is where you put your branding guidelines. So if your color, for example, the text header here is blue, you can decide to change it to maybe orange if that's your color and all that. These are all colors. Then there's the logo. So for now, let's look at just a logo to just show you how customization works. Yeah, we can use this. Actually, let me just use something outside my comfort zone. So let's use Uganda Roads to just have that. Then, yeah, I guess we can use this. Yeah, let's use this. Open image in new tab. Let's pick this logo. Oh, wow, it's a GIF. I want a PNG or a open image. Let's just use this. We'll copy this, go back here, paste the logo here. Good. So we'll go to the options. Again, you'd pick if you want to show a legend, show the gallery, go to access if you want to change a couple of things, including the background. So this background is like a city. Maybe you want it to be a roads background. So again, you're at liberty to do that. Let me let me just do this real quick. I don't know if, just like going to random websites to see what they have as their background. I know Kura have a nice background, so can pick one of them. Okay, let's use this. So I'll just right click, open image in new tab. I'll use this as a background to the landing page of the app. So I'll just delete that, paste ours. Then the other thing, save it. Then now I think we need to now connect the map to this group, to this application. And again, we're using that through the customer care group. It will always notify you that you have no group. So now you go back to the general, say select group. So our group is customer care because that's the customer complaints form. Yep, I'll select that. And then good. So that's how the app looks like. Let's see if it loads. And then, okay, let me just, yeah, I've already saved that. So you notice it picks the map and the schema we'd already put in place. So that's what it looks like. So now if I want to say submit, actually I can change this and it shows people who've already submitted. And you can actually hide this if you feel like as a road agency, you don't want to showcase this. And then there's also now I come here on submit report and it allows me to fill it up. So let's change that. Let's rename it from submit report to submit a complaint because report might be a bit misleading. But if I do that, if I come here, type of problem, let me try something. Maybe debris on road. Let's say blocked road. My first name is May. The second one is K. My phone number, I'll just put that. My email, mkto@esri. My location, let me just find my location. I don't know how safe that is, but let me just do that for now. And then I'll put my location area near to rivers, something like that. And then I'll say report it. So you notice it automatically picks my location, right? Thank you, your report has been submitted. So let's change that to complaints as opposed to report to just have it less. So we'll go to the form bit. Let's see, so here, submit report, let's call it submit complaint here. And then what else can we change here? Report, let's just call it thank you, your complaint, to just make it more custom, then save it. So after that, we are good to go, right? So now if I share this, I'll share this so you guys can try submitting a couple of more reports and then just let me know the sign in. So let's also allow people to sign in on Twitter. Then we can just have you guys try and sign in from different components, from different web interfaces. You can try Twitter, you can try, so let's find that option. Access, yeah, allow using Twitter, then save that. So now that should be an option. So you notice everything has changed. although I don't like the green and orange, but we can change that. Notice the colors look a bit. So the customization is now purely up to you. What are your colors? What do you using as your theme colors? So I think that's done. So if I come here on our map and just refresh this, you'll be able to see the report I've just submitted, but that's also on the application. Seeing the application is still refreshing. Let's refresh the map as well. So this has changed, submit a complaint, and then you're able to submit what your issues are. Okay, so I'll share one of this. Yeah, so you're able to, so let me share this as well to the chat box. Let me just close all these logos. Let's go here. Oh, okay. Sorry, got distracted a bit with the questions. So let me just share this. Let me stop share for a minute. Then let me paste the link on the chat. And then just let me know, please. Let me know if you've been able to, all panelists and attendees, just try that. Let me go back to sharing now. Just try and see if you can access what I've pasted on the chat. But meanwhile, the other power of the application is the fact that there's the manager component of it. So the manager component allows us to manage those complaints that are coming in. So this is the app. I think the one I've pasted, as soon as you click on it, this is your landing page. So then you'll say you either what do you prefer? Do you want to proceed as guest, or do you want to sign in with your Twitter or online account? So when you say proceed as guest, then I'm able to submit my complaint as a guest within that particular web. Just the logo would also reflect that as well. So just try and let me know if you can access that. And then the other bit, yeah, so it should open something like that. It would list the problems. I'll say submit a complaint, and then I'm able to submit. So let me know if you submit it, especially all of us. I've seen that we have a couple of users from different countries. So just try and submit, and then we'll just zoom out at regional level. I'm seeing most of them are within Nairobi, but that's because I was feeling the dummy vibe. Someone has said it's asking for ArcGIS login. Have you tried to do proceed as guest? Let me refresh this. So click on proceed as guest, and then let me know. Go with the first option, proceed as guest, so that it doesn't ask you for a login. Here, proceed as guest. Just try that for those, and then someone else can try using Twitter for those who've logged into their Twitter. And then meanwhile, as you're doing that, I'll show one more bit of it, which is the management component of it, which is now the problem manager. How are you able to manage the problems that you have that have been reported? So the beauty of it is they're both linked. So as soon as you submit, just as soon as you submit, please let me know in the chat, or I'll automatically. So if it's outside this region, just let me know so I can zoom out and see the complaints you've submitted. But now at this particular point is where now customer care comes in, where they're able to see the complaints that have been submitted, and they're able to locate where they are and know where those complaints are. And the beauty of it is, let me showcase a feature I really like about problem manager road agencies, is the fact that if I select, so now this is, I'll now switch my role from the GIS guy to customer care, and I have the app. Now I'm just looking at how it works. So how it works is I'll see all the complaints. Remember, this is now not public facing. This is me managing our complaints as the customer care representative. So what happens is I'll basically select the problem. There's a pothole along Tom Mboya, all that. At the bottom, it has details, right? And since it's an internal reporting system I'm looking at, it will show me the details, right? This is a submitted report. Click on photos. If there's a photo that was attached to it, I'm able to see that photo, and I'm also able to add any comments. Or if the public added comments, I'm able to see that. But again, when I click on edit, I'm able to tell the public that this has been received and it is completed. That means we've fixed those portals, or we've fixed that street light that's not working. And as soon as I click on save, when you go back to the citizen problem reporter and you just refresh this, you'll see that there's a completed progress report. And completed, I think, is forgotten the color I used for completed. Completed is a green sign. So let's so that means all of you will see that there's a completed task. And that means the beauty of that is the public is also able to track their complaints. So that as soon as the customer care guy just comes here and says, there's a damaged missing sign somewhere where that was reported, as soon as I come here on edit, I can say that this has been received. And then I can add a comment that we are working on it. And as soon as I save it, this also reflects on the public interface. You notice this has now become green, right? Because it's no longer something that's in progress. We've completed and fixed that portal. But the other thing is also, I may be the public, but I don't want to submit a complaint. I've already seen the complaints, and maybe this sign here, the damaged or missing sign, is the same issue I have with the road that I'm using. It's the same road, it's the same location. So I'll just vote on this. So that way, there are two votes on that, so that the votes keep piling up on what the public or what communities want addressed within their neighborhoods. It now makes the application really like a really good way of us managing our transportation and understanding what's happening in our communities. I don't know if anyone has tried filling in. Victor, maybe you could, okay, let me just let me check the chat. Has anyone tried? So it only gives the ArcGIS login. Okay. For all of you, is that for everyone? Has anyone outside tried? Maybe anyone who's tried, let me look for a random person. Maybe Brian, I've seen Brian, do you mind trying I don't know if someone externally has tried. I've seen internally it's asking for a login. I'm seeing Gasheri is here. Gasheri, can you try accessing that? Let me repaste the link and then let me know if you're able to submit a complaint. So let me just paste that. And then we can also have Felix. So I'll pick random people, just Flavia, Felix, Ivan, Gasheri. Please try and access this thing. Oh, it's asking for login for all of you. Let me just redo this. Paste. Someone try that. Okay, so it's asking for ArcGIS login. Is there a part that is asking for proceed as guest? Anyone? Okay. So let me reshare this. Share. So on your screen, I've refreshed it. There's no proceed as guest, so you don't have this. No, you guys don't have, it's asking for login. Okay, don't have this. Okay, let me just go back to the app and reconfigure. And then what's the other question I had? Then someone else can try Twitter. For those who are saying it's asking for login, just give me 1 minute. I check why. And then someone can try using Twitter. So that means it will redirect for you to sign in using your Twitter page. So let me just see why it's asking for that. Let me make everything public. I think I've done that. Then Godfrey, please also try on your end. Then I'll also share everything. Let me just share everything here. Make them public. I think now I know where the problem is. Kindly refresh. Sorry, I'd not done that. So just try again one more time. And then meanwhile, I'll just check if there are any questions for now. But just check, I'll refresh again. We'll revisit that where it's asking for the login, but let me just peruse through the page. Daniel, do you mind checking again? Yes, awesome. So Daniel has said he can log in now. Try submitting a complaint. I think I initially mentioned some random names. I mentioned Gasheri, Flavia, Ivan, Bernard. Oh, Bernard has said it's working. Solomon, do you also mind doing the same? Awesome. Okay, thank you. So the other thing would be, let me just, please submit your complaint. Meanwhile, let me stop sharing and just check the chat. And maybe someone can unmute if they have a comment or something to add. Just have a conversation. I think we have like 10 minutes, which we can use to interact and, look at a good way of, do you guys think this would work for customer care? Do you think this would be an interesting way of us having seamless data streams coming into your enterprise and then now overlaying it with our road network and, trying to understand, eventually you get really good insights on, where there are more complaints along this road or along this highway. And since it's on your road network, you're able to give good answers and liaise with customer care on the project stalled or we are working on it. I'd want to probably get your thoughts on that. Let me just get to the question. It's good to work with your databases. Oh, I think I've seen Douglas answered that. Thank you. But just to add, yes, so it's definitely good practice to work with geodatabases as opposed to shapefiles. And that's because of the capabilities it comes with, things like relationship classes, attachments, subtypes, domains, all that is a capability of the geodatabase. So that sort of makes it like a good practice when you want to unlock the capabilities within your data sets. So yes, it's good practice to work with that. Anyone who has another question? Anyone who submitted who has submitted a complaint, then I'll just reproject. We look at how that reflects on the system. And then as customer care, I'll try and type something like working on it or in progress. Then you let me know if you can also see that from your end. So if there's no other question, I think I'll hand it back to Victor. But meanwhile, let me just refresh the app and see if we have more. And then maybe just to also add that Ronald will share a survey, and the survey is to inform the next theme the theme for smart transportation. So we are working today. We were looking at customer care. The other component we want to look at is building a seamless road network and using industry tools like Esri roads and highways. And those are components we are looking at towards incorporating into the series. But please add it within the questionnaire, within the feedback form on what else you'd want incorporated. Also add on the form or reach out to us if you'd want us to co-host the webinar. If you're a user and you want us to work together within the Smart Transportation series, where you showcase how your organization is consuming and using the Esri platform, then also please reach out to us as well. We'd be happy to work together on the next webinar series together for us to co-create that. Yes, I think that's